Alright, time for the solutions for the Walkaway 9 review. This one encompasses triangle congruencies and also proving some geometric theorems. And so let's dive into the triangle congruencies. Again, we're going to have like a pair of triangles. We need to say what information we need to know still in order to have congruence by like angle side angle or angle angle side, side side side, or side angle side. So we just got to say what we need. First thing to do is look at your triangle and figure out what you know already. We know these two angles are congruent because of those little symbols there. We also know that this side's congruent for both triangles because of the reflexive property. And so they show the side, and so that side has to be congruent for both. So we have an angle and a side. If we want to get angle side angle, we need to get the angle that comes after the side, we already know, for both of the triangles. So we need these two angles to be congruent. That is angle DCT to be congruent with angle DCE. If we want to get angle angle side, we have to have the angle that comes before the angle we already know, and then the side that follows that. And so we need angle up here at T and angle down there at E to be congruent. And so I'm going to put that down. Angle DTC needs to be congruent to angle DEC. Okay. Moving down to the next one, we have already two pairs of angles that match up, and we should need to identify the side between them if we want to get angle side angle. So we need that side and that side to be congruent. So that side LM needs to be side needs to be congruent to side K, not K, X, Y. And if we want to have angle angle side, there's actually two options. You can get those two angles and then this side, like that, or we can have these sides be congruent because you'll have to have angle angle side. Whichever it is, you can pick which one you want to do. I'm going to do the YZ to be congruent with M side MN. On 3, we already have these two sides being congruent, and we know this middle side is congruent for both because the reflexive property, they share that side. And so if we want to get side, 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 we need this last pairs of sides to be congruent. And so I'm going to put that down there. We need EG to be congruent to QG. And yes, someone's doing yard work right outside my window. It's awesome. Anyway, moving on to the next part. If we want to get side angle side, you need to get the angle that's between the two sides that you know, which is right there and right there. And so we're going to write down both those angles there. They need to be congruent. Angles EFG needs to be congruent to angle QFG. And there's that one. Moving on to 4, we already have two pairs of sides that match up. So if we want to get side, 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 we need to get this last pair of sides to be congruent. That's side GE. And that needs to be congruent to side WY. If we want to get side angle side, we need this angle that's between the two sides we know already to be congruent. So that's angle EFG. That needs to be congruent to angle YXW, and that's what we need. Moving down to the bottom part, you gotta list some reasons, and the conclusion is kind of like our two-column proof idea. LM being congruent to NO, that's a given. That's right up there on the list, right there. And the next given is the next thing on the list. Angle M is congruent to angle O. And that's those two angles. And we need to get another conclusion here to get angle angle side. Well, if I look at my figure here, I know that these two angles are congruent because they're vertical angles. And so that's going to be my next one. They're vertical angles. Whoa. And that's angle MPL to be congruent to OPN. And yes, you need to put them in that order because those are the angles there centered at P. And this is what we're trying to prove, and that's our last conclusion. Triangle MPL is congruent to triangle NPO, and it's by angle, angle, side, because we have angle, angle, side on both triangles. Moving on to the next one. On this one, it's not already split into two columns, but that's right, you can just make your own. So, and we really don't have anything to start with, and so we're just going to start with our givens. AB congruent to CD. And I know that because it's a given. Our next conclusion, those two angles are congruent, and that's also a given. So angle ABD is congruent to angle CDB. So that's those two angles marked there on the figure. We know those because are congruent because they're given. And we also know the side that they share is congruent for both, and that's by the figure itself. So we know BD is congruent to BD, and that's by the reflexive property. And once we have all that, we actually have side, angle, side for both triangles. And so that's our final conclusion, that triangle ABD is congruent to triangle CDB, and that is by side, angle, side. Moving on to the back part, I'm actually going to put that in a new video.